Let's learn about Chartbeat. Please welcome out Peter Hershberg.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Hershberg. I am CEO of Reprise Media. We're a search and social media marketing agency. And increasingly, we're finding that our firm needs to make decisions based on real-time information and what I would call micro trends. And candidly, that's been a little bit of a challenge for us, largely because existing web analytics platforms aren't terribly helpful in that regard. In fact, they weren't designed to do that in the first place. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through a demo of a new product. It was created by our partner, BetaWorks. It's called Chartbeat, and it gives you visibility into what's going on your website in real time. Some of you may have actually seen it profiled on TechCrunch yesterday. So I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes so that everybody has context around why BetaWorks created Chartbeat to begin with, and then we'll get into a live demo so you can see exactly how the system works. There we go. Now, the new reality is that information travels around the internet in real time. And by that, I mean that people are no longer dependent on mass media for breaking news. And I think that most, if not everybody in this room, would probably agree with that. Now, it may have taken an event like this to actually bring you to this realization, where a plane goes down in the Hudson River, and what effectively happened is that an ordinary guy, or at least what I think is an ordinary guy, snapped a picture with his cell phone, and this becomes the face of the story, both in the online and the offline world. And so the question is, how did that happen? Well, the rise of tools and platforms like Twitter and Facebook have effectively done two things. First, they've made publishing really simple. They're literally asking people, what are you doing right now? And people no longer need a blog or a website to actually answer that question. The second thing that they've done is provide users with access to a built-in network of people who already view them as being credible sources. And as a result, these people are very likely to spread whatever information it is that users are creating around the internet on their behalf. And by the way, this is no longer restricted to the tech community. I think everybody knows that Twitter, Facebook, a variety of other platforms are building a lot of momentum and scale, and they're building it very quickly. And as a result, individual voices are now in a position to reach and influence a mass audience. And that's really the opportunity for businesses. The fact that huge audiences are being exposed to information in real time means that it could result in huge spikes in traffic to your website. I mean, think about what happens if your company is featured in a story on TechCrunch, or you make it to the top page of Dig, or a customer is twittering negative information about your brand. Or maybe you're speaking at a conference like Web2 and people are live twittering through the presentations. In order to take advantage of these instances, or maybe even react to what could be potential problems, you need to know about these trends as they happen. And that's where existing web analytics platforms come up really short. In fact, I would say that they're a lot like print media in this regard. And by that, I mean they're really good at telling you what's already happened. They're not so good at telling you what's happening right now. And because of that, you might not know about a traffic spike until well after the fact, and you weren't able to capitalize on an opportunity. Maybe you weren't even able to protect your business. And that's exactly the challenge that Chartbeat solves. And BetaWorks has had a few different people actually testing the system over the past few weeks. One of them is Fred Wilson, venture capitalist with Union Square Ventures. I imagine a bunch of you are familiar with the fact that he also has a very well-read blog called AVC. And Fred's been kind enough to actually allow us to show you what's going on his site in real time using Chartbeat. So let's take a look at that live demo right now. All right, so logging into the system, you can actually see that we're tracking a couple of different sites here, but moving on to Fred's site. What we have here is you can actually see the aggregate number of people on his site right now. There's 42 people on AVC, as compared to right below that you see a monthly max of, I think, 95 people. So we're pretty early in the month, relatively low number for Fred's site. It may even go up and above that over the course of this presentation. What you also see is the number of new visitors versus returning visitors. 16 new people visiting the site today. They've been going to AVC for the first time, versus 28 who are returning, people who've been to the site before. And then below that, we actually get a breakdown of who's reading, who's writing, meaning leaving a comment on the site, and then people who may be idle, meaning they're not doing much, but they may have a page open. If we move over to the right here, you can actually see this at a page level. Page density actually reflects the top 50 pages on AVC. The size of the box that you're looking at corresponds to the number of people that are on that particular web page. And what you also see is that there's a scroll heat map, which shows you where people are on the page. If they're at the top, in all likelihood, they've just started reading. If they're at the bottom, they may in fact be leaving a comment on the site. And again, you can see a breakdown of people who are reading, writing, and people who are idle. Now, scrolling down, we can also take a look at geolocations, meaning where in the world people are coming from when they visit AVC. So this is actually a map, or obviously a map of the globe, but then I can zoom into the United States or any other country for that matter. And what you see also, I can even zoom down to the state level, but if I put my mouse over each individual dot on the map, you can see the page that that user happens to be on AVC. And if I click on that, it'll actually be taken to that page within the website. I can also see visit length, how long people have been on the site. And then below that, we can actually see where people are coming from. And you'll notice that this is actually updating in real time. As people visit AVC, we see where it is that they're coming from, and then below that, the referrer details as well. We also see raw hits here, meaning individual pages that people are coming into AVC from, or if they're going from page to page within Fred's website. And then below that, we have some conversation monitoring. This is actually monitoring Twitter activity right now. The 3 tweets that you're looking at actually include one of 3 keywords you see here that we're tracking. And below that, there are links to AVC, meaning things people may have Twittered, didn't use one of those keywords, but still had a link back to Fred's site. Now, the interesting thing is that everybody I've showed this to has basically said that they could spend all day looking at this, and while I agree, I don't know that that's terribly realistic for any of us. So what Chartbeat allows you to do is actually add alerts where you can monitor your traffic or the responsiveness of your website. And then you can actually have emails sent to you in the event that you exceed a certain number of visitors, your site is taking a certain amount of time to load, things of that nature. You can also have text messages sent to you at the same time. So this is all real-time information. And again, the alerts are very helpful in that regard, but sometimes you may actually miss out on something, or you may want to look at something in a little bit more detail. And so Chartbeat also gives you the opportunity to look into history in terms of what was going on your website. You can see here we have total people on the site today, and then for the last 7 days and last 30 days. And in the event that we see a spike in traffic, we can actually highlight that area, zoom in a little bit more closely. I'm on the last 7 days chart right now, and see what may have been happening. Not only that, if I double click on that, we're actually seeing a replay, not real time, but what happened at that moment in time that caused that spike in traffic. You notice at the top of the page, this is March 31st, 11:25. This goes in 5-minute intervals. And you can actually see what it was that may have caused some unusual activity on your website. Moving back to the historical tab, we also see page load time. So oftentimes you may see that a page is loading quite well for an individual user, but there may be an issue on the server side or vice versa, where the server is working okay, but it's taking quite a bit of time for pages to load. And anybody who's been to Fred's site knows that he loves his bling. He's got all kinds of widgets and gadgets all over it. So you can see it actually does take quite a bit of time for certain pages to load on Fred's site. And again, this stuff can all be customized. You can take a look at what it is you want to see versus what you don't. And Chartbeat makes it very easy to do that. Again, there's a reading, writing, idle tab. And then you could do the same thing with Twitter history that I showed you earlier in terms of a replay. If in fact there was a spike in terms of Twitter activity and a lot of mentions, you can look into the history to see what it was that may have been happening in that area. So the last thing I want to show you is, I mean, as powerful as the interface is on its own, there's also a variety of site widgets that you can put on your website. All the information that I've shown you is available through an API, so if you have the means to mash it up and display it in a way that makes sense for you, then you're certainly able to go ahead and do that. But Chartbeat's also come up with a variety of canned widgets that you see here. Recent visitors widget, refer widget, handful of other things. And if we go to Fred's site, you can actually see most popular pages on AVC. Fred's grabbed a widget from Chartbeat. He's actually customized it so it matches the look and feel of his website. But again, this gives you a good sense of what this might look like on a web page. So that's it for the demo. I would definitely encourage everybody to take a look at Chartbeat. when you have some time, we actually have just a couple of other slides that I want to show just because we have a URL. There we go. That you can visit. So Chartbeat, again, hopefully you get a sense of what the power is. I think this is a great business and a great product for the times, not just because it shows you real-time information and what's going on your website, but because it's really easy to install, one line of code that takes a matter of minutes. Beyond that, it's $9.95 a month. Chartbeat will also give you a 30-day free trial. And in the spirit of real-time, here is a bit.ly link to a web page that will actually show you Fred's traffic on AVC in real time. You can continue to look at that even after the presentation. So thanks everybody here. Thanks to BetaWorks and Chartbeat for building a killer product. Billy Chasen in particular, who's out in the audience somewhere, who's the guy who actually developed this. And thanks to Fred for letting us show traffic to his website. So I hope you'll check it out. Thanks very much.